Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spellbound, A Darker Shade of Black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. I was at the library reading through the comments section of the 2 videos that I did regarding the Black Panther movie teaser trailer, my thoughts on the Black Panther movie teaser trailer, and the video I did called Black Panther movie pro-blacks and dysfunction. And as I was reading through the comments section of those 2 videos, I was deeply disappointed to see that when it comes down to paying attention, many of these Afro-American Negroes have a hard time paying attention, and they have a very short attention span. Now, in that video, I pretty much made a statement talking about how my characters are often judged as not being black enough. And some of these Afro-American Negroes who just do not seem to have any type of critical thinking skills or any sort of understanding of how to pay attention to details or how to pretty much understand how to process information, they went and took this as a point of saying, he was saying that Milestone's comic book characters were judged as not being black enough. Now, I went back and rewatched my own video for the 3rd or 4th time. And this is what a lot of these Negroes don't understand, is that before I put a single video up on YouTube or any other social media platform, I have pretty much watched that video over. I have pretty much proofread that video, looked over every statement I have made, and made sure that what I was saying was what I was saying. So when I pretty much made that statement saying that, my characters were often judged as not black enough, I was talking about the characters of my SJS Direct imprint. Now, these people thought because I also discussed Icon and Static in the same video, I was saying the same thing about Milestone's characters, which pretty much shows me how they just don't know how to process information, that they pretty much jumbled the details and tried to pretty much frame it up in an argument that, oh, he's saying that Milestone's characters were judged as not being black enough, which was not the case at all. What the case was that many of these Negroes, they don't know how to process information, or they've learned how to process information in the same way their single mother has taught them how to process information. Because when it comes down to this Afro-American Negro's single mother, what she will do when she has been given information is she will not process it logically. She will process the information in an emotional fashion. And as she is processing the information in an emotional fashion, she often jumbles up the details and then tries to use the information that she's been given to frame an argument that pretty much makes no sense or takes what a person has said pretty much out of context. And this whole statement that many of these Negroes were leaving in the comments section, saying that I was making the Milestone, saying that the Milestone characters were being often said by pro-blacks as not being black enough, that was them taking my words out of context and trying to use it to pretty much frame an argument that I just did not make in that video. And I had to go home after I left the library and look my video over again to pretty much see what I was saying. And I pretty much saw what they were doing. And this is something that many of your Afro-American Negroes, this is what they will do, is they will go, and again, they will take the information you give them, and because they've learned how to do things by their single mother or their mothers, they will take the information and they will interpret it instead of processing it in a logical fashion. Now, I said in that previous videos that my characters were often judged as not being quote-unquote black enough because they just did not fit the narrative that many of these pro-blacks and these hoteps have regarding characters. Moreover, they don't fit the narrative that many of these Negro nerds have regarding black characters, because you have to understand that in order for a black character to be considered acceptable by the members of these groups, that character has to be considered acceptable by white people. So for them, a character that has gotten a stamp of approval from a white person or a group of white people is considered more acceptable to pretty much support than a character created solely by a black man or a black woman. This is why there is so much eagerness and enthusiasm to go out here and watch a Black Panther movie and go support a Black Panther movie that was pretty much created by white people or Jews than it is to go out and watch or support a story or a character that would have been created solely by a black person. This is the big problem as relates to many of these Afro-American Negroes, because they pretty much are spellbound and they believe that the white man's ice is colder and that the white man's version of black characters is better than a black character created by a black creator. And this is the big argument that I was pretty much making in my previous video, because I have seen this firsthand as a black creator. Now, as a black creator, when I go out here and create a book like an ISIS series book, I was often derided not only by people outside of the on social media, but by members of my own family telling me that the character of ISIS was not really considered black enough. And they did this pretty much because they were looking for something that fit the narrative of this white liberal as relates to black, not what is black considered by us. And this is a big problem with many of these people, like these hoteps, these pro-blacks, these Negro nerds, and many of these Afro-American Negroes. They don't want to define black by our terms. They want black to be defined by the white liberal. They want his approval, and this is why they'll go out of their way and say we have to go out and support this Black Panther movie or there won't be anything else, because they believe that this is the only opportunity that they're going to have to get approval from this white man, which is really in their minds. Because what's really funny is that when I go out here with a ISIS series book or a Temptation of John Haynes, or even some type of young adult fiction that I do like Thetas or Spellbound, what is funny is that I can pretty much get critical praise from white people, but because it's not pretty much presented in a mainstream media, you'll have black people trying to dismiss me, saying that that's not black enough. And the irony is that I can get those white people to write good reviews and say good things about these type of stories, but it's harder for me to get the core black audience, which I was targeting, to pretty much go out and support this work or say anything good about it. And that's what a lot of black creators usually run into, is that we try to go out and reach black audiences, but those black audiences pretty much reject us because they believe it's being created by a black man and it's not being endorsed by white people. But they'll look at this Black Panther and they'll go out here and say, we have to support it. It's a big budget movie made by a black director, so this is an opportunity for black people, when there have always been opportunities for black people. The whole thing is that black people don't value anything black unless it's approved by white people. If the white man comes along, this imaginary white man comes along, or a white institution comes along, they then consider that having value. Whereas the item that was created by a black person, such as myself, with my SJS direct imprint, if I did something like an ISIS series book, that's not considered having value. They've tried to find ways to nitpick it and find something wrong with it. Meanwhile, somebody who is endorsed by a white corporation such as Disney, there could be serious faults with their product, but because it comes from a white institution, they pretty much have no problem with it. In fact, they don't even look at the faults in it. Now, as I was watching that Black Panther teaser trailer and I saw the work of this black director, I saw quite a few faults in his film. And those faults pretty much came out to me as a person who has studied film and a person who is a screenwriter. And the first fault that I saw in that teaser trailer was that he pretty much told a story instead of showed, and his visuals were very weak. And when you're having a teaser trailer, you really want to get people's attention. You want to grab people from the first frame of the film being shot, and you want to give them a reason to care. This is something I have talked about in numerous videos as a screenwriter and as a writer in my comic book videos, that the three questions you have to answer are: who is the main character, what do they want, and why should we care? And as I was watching that Black Panther teaser trailer, I did not see those three questions answered. I was not told who the main character was, and when they pretty much did that, they had this Ulysses Claw, which was giving me a white supremacist view of things and making it look like he was going to be the main character. And as for the what do they want, again, it looks like your Ulysses Claw is being presented as the villain, and he's being presented really as the main character, and the Black Panther is looking like he's in the background of his own movie. And as for the why should we care, I didn't really see a reason to pretty much care about this movie based on that teaser trailer. Now, in contrast, the Captain America Civil War teaser, that gave you a reason to care. It really got you excited. You saw lots of action in those visuals, and that action pretty much defined the characters and defined the story, and it got you excited to go see it. Same thing with the Thor Ragnarok trailer. You saw a lot of action in that teaser, and in that 1 minute of footage, you saw reasons to go see this movie. You saw a reason to care. But in this one, we're not seeing the Black Panther in action. We're not seeing a reason to care. What I saw in that teaser was pretty much a lot of exposition. And exposition is something you do in a larger film trailer, not a teaser trailer. In a teaser trailer, you want to get people's attention. You want to get them excited. You want to get them pumped so that they're getting ready to say, I'm going to spend money to go see that movie. I didn't see anything there but a whole bunch of exposition and a whole bunch of details, but nothing pertaining to telling me what was going on in that movie to make me care. I mean, the Black Panther was in the background of his own movie, and this is in a trailer by a black director. Moreover, as I looked at that black director's visuals, they weren't strong visuals. I mean, he was copying frames from 2008's Iron Man and last year's Captain America Civil War. And when a director has to use other directors' shots in his own film, it says that that director really isn't a creative director. I mean, it really shows that this director is out of his depth and that the screenwriter was out of their depth, because you're writing scenes that were copied from somebody else's movie. I've made the same critique about that Justice League trailer when Batman threw the Batarang at Barry Allen, and I said that that whole scene was pretty much ripped from Captain America Civil War. And in this Black Panther trailer, again, I saw frames of footage taken from two other Marvel Studios movies and then cut and pasted into this film. When you're doing a film, you want your visuals to be strong. You want your distinct imprint to be on the film. And with all these Marvel Studios movies, what was great about them is that each director pretty much was working in a cinematic universe, but they were leaving their own thumbprint in these films in nuanced ways. Because if we look at the first Avengers, we can see a lot of Joss Whedon's imprint on it. And in the Iron Man movie, we can see some of Jon Favreau's on it. And on the first Captain America, we can see that director's on it. And in Civil War, we can see some of the Russos' distinct imprints on that movie as it relates to visuals and storytelling. But with this one, in the teaser, I didn't really see anything strong about this guy's visuals. He didn't really tell a story, and he didn't put his pictures in the story. And a good filmmaker is going to find some way to fit their thumbprint on that story, so that it's not just another movie or just another story. It's partially their story. And this is something that I learned way back in '89 when I was watching Tim Burton's Batman. Because when you watch Tim Burton's Batman, yes, it's a Batman movie, but there's a lot of Tim Burton's spirit in that movie, a lot of his visual touches in that movie. And because there are a lot of his visual touches in the film, you pretty much see him on the screen. and his story is being told. It's like his vision for what Batman is. And in Jon Favreau's Iron Man, we saw his vision for what Iron Man was. And Joss Whedon, we saw his vision for the Avengers. But we didn't really see that with this Black Panther. We just saw generic shots and shots cut and pasted from other people's films. And that doesn't really make for a strong visual in a visual medium. If you have to take other people's shots and put them in your film, that shows me that there's some weakness in the way this film is going to be told in pictures. The story is not going to be very distinct. It's going to be very generic, very by the numbers, and that's not what people want to see in a big budget Black Panther movie. What they want to see is something special, something unique. And this is why I said I wanted to see more in that film as it related to substance, and I didn't get any substance as related to this Black Panther teaser trailer. Just there was absolutely no substance. It was a very shallow visual experience, and the story just wasn't strong. I mean, when you have a teaser, you have 1 minute to get people's attention, because it's no different than what I do when I pretty much put an ad up for one of my books, or I pretty much put a synopsis up for a book. The job of that is to whet your appetite, to get your attention, and to give you a reason to care, so that you will go read the preview or the sample chapter online, or to go buy the book. And I did not see a reason to go out here and see this Black Panther movie based on what was presented to me. Now, a lot of people will sit there and say it's a black production, it's got a black screenwriter, it's got a black director, but I'm sorry, that's just not enough for me. Just having a black person or a group of black people putting together something doesn't mean that I should go out here and actively support it, because that really creates a double standard as related to black creators. Now, black creators like myself are told we need to up our game, we need to step up our game, we need to try to improve our quality, we need to do better with our work. But these black creators who work with white people are not held to the same standard. If they work with white people, we're just supposed to actively go out and support them with all our money, and just do that basically with no conditions. But the black creators, they're held to a higher standard. And then when we try to up our game, like I have tried to do in recent years with the ISIS series, where I've gone out after people have complained about the cover, and I go out and I hire a professional artist who has done work on national advertising campaigns to design the covers, and they give me something on the level of professional animation. What I get told is that the characters are not black enough, or they're too light skinned, and that pretty much is like a slap in the face to a black creator. You're telling them that they go out and they try to raise their bar, and you're telling them that their standard, when they raise the bar, is not good enough. Meanwhile, the people who work at Disney and the black people who get to do their work at Disney, they can come in with a substandard product or a mediocre product, and you're telling me that you're going to go spend money on that. That's really a double standard, because you're holding the black creator to a higher standard, but then you're pretty much accepting less from white people. And that's, again, a slap in the face to a black creator. And a lot of black creators that, like myself, we're really frustrated with that, because we're being told that no matter what we do, no matter how high we raise the bar, no matter how much we make efforts to step up, we're told that our products are just not good enough, and by our own people. Yet white people will go out and take a look at that exact same product, even in its weakest form, like when I was doing my own hand-drawn covers and using Photoshop for covers like the Thetas, and they'll say that it's good. They'll say that it's great, and they'll leave good reviews on it, but black people will tell you it's just not good enough. And this is, again, something that is very frustrating for many of us creators. Many of us creators, we put a lot of effort into our work. We spend a lot of time making our projects the best that they can be. Yet we are told by our own people it's just not good enough. And what's really sad to me is, as I was looking at the whole establishments of this Black Panther, when I was watching Captain America Civil War this weekend was that even little details like Black Panther talking about Boston Sekhmet, this goes over the heads of many Afro-American Negroes, and again, they won't hold Marvel Studios to the same standard that they hold us to. I get castigated for having a so-called light-skinned ISIS, yet on Captain America Civil War we have a Wakandan king from a East African, West African, or wherever he comes from, talking about Egyptian gods, and there is nobody in the Hotep or the pro-black or the Negro nerd community to call this out and say, hey, this doesn't fit the Black Panther character, even in an adaptation. This has never been part of his origins or his source material, but because this character was created by two Jewish men or two white men, it pretty much gets a pass. Meanwhile, a guy like me who has done research on Egyptian mythology, on Nubian mythology, and creates an ISIS that pretty much does not fit the narrative for what many Hoteps and pro-blacks, and even some Negro nerds consider to be a black person, we get held to a different standard and told our stuff isn't good enough. And this is really a thing that many black creators are frustrated about, because we go out of our way to do our research, do our homework, and it seems like nobody wants to pay attention to our work or support our work, but they look for reasons to tell us that our work just isn't good enough. And as I was watching that video, it showed really, the cognitive distortion that many of these Afro-American Negroes have, as I pretty much posted that video talking about Black Panther, pro-blacks, and the dysfunction, because I saw that dysfunction in the comments section as I was making that video. I mean, here are people who pretty much, they couldn't really pay attention to what I was saying, because I was saying that, when I said it wasn't black enough, I was talking about my own work, but then they tried to frame the argument talking about how I was talking about Milestone's characters wasn't enough. When really, it wasn't. It was just them, again, thinking like a single mother and trying to make things fit what they wanted to fit, because they wanted to dismiss the argument I was presenting in my commentary. And that's the whole thing with this Black Panther argument in that video, was that people were trying to make things fit so that they could go and dismiss my work and then go back over to this Black Panther and say that he's a sellout or something like that, so they could go continue supporting this white person's work, because they want the approval and the attention from these white people, and they feel if they support these white characters and these black characters who are created by white people, they will eventually get the approval of white people, and they will pretty much say that they are great. And that's really a backwards way of thinking, because it really shows how much low self-esteem many of these Negroes have. They want the attention and approval of white people, and they don't see value in themselves, because what a black creator is doing is saying, when they create stuff, is saying that you actually have high value in their eyes. They're saying you have worth in their eyes. And you're saying to the world, by going and saying, we need to support this Black Panther movie over these black creators, is that the white man's ice is colder, and that his stuff is better than your own. If you want to try some of the titles in the SJS Direct universe, you can do so by clicking the link in the description box. It'll take you to the Amazon page where all the ISIS series books, Esteem series books, and The Temptation of John Haynes are. And if you like what you see on this channel, you can support my Patreon by donating $1 by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.